You've got a real attitude problem, McFly. You're a slacker.
You wouldn't match by any chance, would you?
Embrace the probability of your imminent death. And know in your heart that there's nothing I can do to save you.
Rick, where'd you get a hand grenade?
I don't know.
Good morning, Starshine. The Earth says hello.
I've been quite excited about having this next guest on for the last week or so. I think he's changing some lives. You may not even know it. He's Representative Walter Hudson. Couple weeks back now, has it been since the Charlie Kirk shooting? First week having him on, I think we're kind of in the same boat, sir. You know, it's just more of a shock and awe, kind of a what do we do now thing. And I think it was last week you were on. And I really felt, and if, tell me I'm wrong if I'm wrong, I really felt, because I'd ask you, has this got some longevity to it? Is this movement or whatever we've got going on? And you had laid out that it had changed your life, that you have decided you are going to be different in the way you do this. And I've loved the way you've done it up till now, so I've been watching. It has changed your life, hasn't it? This is a visceral change in who you are and how you're going to go about your work. And it affected me in a way, long story short. People have been getting weird on Facebook or the X thing, and I just don't have time for it anymore. If you're not going to play nicely in the park, if we're not going to get on, then you're gone. I don't need it in my life. I'm going to play this game as fairly as possible. It's changed, and I'm pointing my finger at you, right at you in the camera. I blame you, sir. You showed me, you said no, and it made sense to me. I thank you for doing it. You're muted, by the way. There you are.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, yeah, there's a train going by, so I was trying to spare you that. It has definitely reoriented my thinking and refocused my resolve. And, you know, those sound like kind of nebulous platitudes, but in tangible ways. Yeah. Like I am structuring my days differently. Oh yeah, 100%. There's a renewed focus on making sure that you're always doing the thing, making sure that you're always moving the ball forward. And I think that if that times a couple million Americans is taking place, you're going to see tangible results in our institutions.
Just so I can give some background, and you know, you probably wouldn't color this way, but I will. All this stuff that happened with Charlie Kirk, because a man speaks his voice and just wants a discussion. You've been out there on the discussion front as far as you've been in politics. You're the guy on X who says the way he believes it, and a lot of people like it and some people hate it. You're the guy who at the Capitol, when there was at the reps in the House wasn't in session evidently, but you guys were working, and crazy people are screaming at you in a microphone, literally right to your face. You have people trying to dox you online. You have family. I mean, this idea that the Hortman and Hoffman shooting happens hits you a whole lot different than it hits Al and hits, you know, average guy over here next door, because it is personal. And then the Kirk thing happens. This is why hits bigger to you. This matters in so many ways, because you have to fight the idea that if I keep doing what I'm doing, you must be scared for your family a bit. You know, just because you brought them into something that they didn't maybe take up on. Right? They're just your kids. I didn't know Dad would have people screaming at my house or doing, you know, you have an added weight there that is even heavier now.
I think the better way to put it is that it's a burden that has been carried for a long time that I've become more clearly aware of. Right? Okay. It's not as though this is new. This is a new development. This is the world we live in. And what the response to Kirk has shown us, and by the way, tons of violence since then, right?
Oh, yeah.
ICE facilities being shot up. I mean, we just had a shooting in a Mormon church yesterday. This is the world we live in. And so you talk about being afraid. My 12-year-old's afraid. I can tell you that.
That's what
right?
The point's been made. Go ahead.
For me, the necessity is vigilance. It's a renewed vigilance. It's a renewed awareness. But you have to push through it. You have to, because otherwise these forces of darkness are going to prevail.
See, and that's what I'm saying. That's why I think you've become a leader, at least for me, is that that's how you say that. The darkness has always been there, but the point has been made on it. You know, your 12 years old, understands what we're talking about here, and I'm glad you're their dad, and you're going to point them in the right direction. Now let's talk business. Today in the paper, they're talking about from the Min Post. The governor is now thinking of a constitutional amendment to get rid of firearms. And I'm like, what? I mean, where did this come from? I pay attention. I'm reading stuff. He can't get a special session to go his way, but you know what? He might call a special session too, even if he's got to put his own team up to make some bad votes that they can't get passed because they don't have enough numbers. And I'm like, why in God's green earth would a governor talk like this? Oh, yeah. He's running for governor. He needs something to take all the fraud off the front page. Am I over politicizing this, or is that what's going on with the governor?
That's exactly what's going on. I have not heard that particular story. I'm hearing it here for the first time. Makes perfect sense to me because what this is one. What? Let me be very, very, very clear. What Governor Walz is doing right now is he is using the resources of state government to campaign for governor. That's all this is. He has made no sincere, legitimate effort to actually engage in the legislative process, which, by the way, is on brand. This guy is invisible during legislative session. He comes out on the first day with a pan full of bars to hand out to representatives, and then he disappears for the next 6 months. You never see him. You never hear from him, except for when he gets in front of the cameras in order to spout some nonsense. He's not engaging with our legislative chairs. He's not engaging with our leadership in any meaningful way. He's certainly not engaging with members. And this whole process of him building up towards a special session, he announced his intention to call a special session to do a specific thing without taking a single meeting with a Republican. That is not something you do if you're actually engaged in the task of governance. That's something you do because you are setting the stage to announce your run for a third term for governor. And so this new tactic of, well, we're going to go to a constitutional amendment, the politics is clear as day, right? The argument is going to be, well, why won't you let the people decide whether or not they want to get rid of the Second Amendment, right? And that's the way he's going to pivot the focus off of himself and off of his Democrat colleagues onto us. It's all about politics, 100%.
That's fair enough. Then they actually asked Lisa Damas, Speaker Damas, your thoughts, and she says, we have not said those words. We have not talked about that in all the things we've talked about for the last 2 weeks about a special session. He never brought it up. It's a new deal. And I presume, and this is where I'm coming from, I told Senator Lang this earlier, I'm reading the paper this morning, and it's a fraud story. I'm like, oh, let me read that. And I read every day. I was out Friday, right? I heard of a fraud thing out Friday. And I'm thinking it was that story. No. In this news story they're talking about today, they're referencing the fraud that they were talking about on Friday. And I'm like, holy crap. You need a program to keep up with the fraud. Then that story hits me about why, let's go for a constitutional amendment. On that same line, do you think this governor, even if it's all political, will ask for a special session when you're sitting with a split House 67-67 and a Senate, which neither side have enough to get it passed, right? Someone has to. Would he actually do that? Because don't you then have the gavel Damoth to say, let's talk about a few other things now, because I'm not going to bring us out until I want to, you know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, it's open season. Does he do that?
I think he does. I think he does because, again, the entire purpose of this is campaigning. The entire purpose of this is to set up narratives for his bid for a third term.
And every night after they're done, he gets somebody to ask him a question on the news, and he gets to talk about what he thinks about. Oh,
yeah, wow. Right. This is not about getting anything done. He doesn't care about the structure of the legislature or the balance of parties. It has nothing to do with any of that. Those are the things you're concerned about if you're actually trying to accomplish something. This guy isn't trying to accomplish anything. He's just campaigning. That's all this is. And frankly, that should be our message every single day. And I have not consulted with leadership on this, all right? Every single day, our caucus should be in front of the camera, reiterating again and again and again, this is a total farce. This is the governor using state resources in order to campaign, using legislative staff and facilities to put on a show for the sake of his campaign. He is not engaged in legislation. He is not engaged in negotiation. This has nothing whatsoever to do with anything getting done. This is a campaign. And he's using your tax dollars to do it. That should be the message every single day.
And it'd be easy enough to point out, okay, since the shooting at the church, he's had this much time, and how many years we've been talking about, legislation for guns. Where's his bill? Shouldn't he have it laying as this is what I would like them to pass? He doesn't. He always says, I want a special session and you guys work it out. He could lay it on the ground and say, here's where I stand, but he doesn't. Isn't that all it takes?
And even that's an incoherent and inconsistent message, because he'll say things like that, but then he'll turn around and when we propose his extreme gun control legislation that he couldn't get passed when he had a trifecta, anything other than that, he says, well, we're not doing any of that stuff. We're calling this special session in order to do this thing, this particular thing, and that's it. We're not considering any of these crazy ideas. So it's like he's like a madman. He's totally inconsistent and incoherent in terms of the things that he's saying. And the reason why is because, again, the goal is not to do anything at all. That's not the goal. The goal is to set the stage for kabuki pageantry in order to campaign in 2026.
Well, I said it earlier, but now again, like I said, I'm even getting lost in the amount of fraud. When we talk on the other side, I find this amazing. And it's got to be some polling somewhere that they're getting that you think in Minnesota third term, which has never happened before, can happen when now we're talking not $1 billion, but according to you, billions of dollars have been just walked out the streets and out the door. And he hasn't done anything about it. We'll talk about that on the other side right after this. I've got him, Representative Walter Hudson.
When the stakes are high at the Minnesota Capitol, you need more than a lobbyist. You need a partner. At Momentum Advocacy, we bring nearly 90 years of combined experience in government relations, public affairs, and strategic communications. From nonprofits to national corporations, we help organizations navigate Minnesota's political landscape with integrity, insight, and results. Whether you need legislative champions or headlines, Momentum Advocacy delivers. For more, visit momentum-advocacy.com. Momentum Advocacy, your friends at the Capitol.
Think about it. A famous politician once said, "You're entitled to your opinion, but you are not entitled to your own facts." But in a world full of AI and fake news, where can Minnesotans find the facts? Center of the American Experiment is Minnesota's go-to source for fact-based analysis and common sense solutions for taxes, energy, public safety, and our kids' education. Visit AmericanExperiment.org for more information. Think About It is brought to you by Center of the American Experiment, Minnesota's think tank.
It's nice to know a guy that knows a guy. Al Travis.
I've got him, Representative Walter Hudson, on the program. Again, I think you need a program because this new one is for Minnesota's Integrated Community Supports Program. I didn't know we had one, but we do. Let me describe what at least the Hennepin County person runs hers says this thing does, according to the manager of Hennepin County Human Services. It gives adults with disabilities the opportunity to live independently in communities, set up nursing homes, that sort of thing. Sounds good. That could mean learning how to read street signs, send emails, cook or clean your house, navigate public transit. All right, let's just say we need this. Maybe we do. I'm going to bet you dollars for donuts this is no different than Feeding Our Future, autism care, any of the rest. You just have to send in little Bobby's name and say you helped him learn how to clean his house, and we'll send you a flipping check. And yet, is it even stealing if it's that easy, sir? This is the playbook for fraud. If you figured it out at Feeding Our Futures, just go through the list. The driving thing, medical driving thing. Well, if you put down 25 miles, that's this much. Put down 15, it's this much. It can't be that easy, sir. It just, good God, can't be that easy.
Well, it is that easy, and I'll tell you exactly why. I'll explain it to you the way I explained it to my 12-year-old.
Please.
What we're doing as a state is we're just handing one of those cartoon bags of cash, like that the guy in the burglar costume takes from the bank. We're just handing one of those to people and saying, "Go help the homeless. Go clean somebody's house. Go do something nice." And then we're surprised when, lo and behold, they don't actually do any of that, and instead they buy themselves a car. I mean, that's it. That's what we're doing. And that's, in essence, what U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson described the other week when he announced these new indictments with Housing Stabilization Services. He said all of these programs are basically just fraud programs. Like, they're structured to produce fraud. Whether intentional or not, and I believe it is intentional, but whether it's intentional or not, that's how they function.
But when we set these up, I mean, it isn't even the Apple Dumpling Gang. I don't know if you remember that as a kid, the Apple Dumpling Gang. Worst robbers, all just a terrible, but they always got their stuff because they were funny and, whatever. It doesn't have to be that hard. If you wrote this thing out, and let's say we need somebody to teach other people how to clean their house. I'm not jumping in saying that's something that your church can't do, but okay. We set that up. The program doesn't even say when you turn it in, you send a photo of the clean house. Doesn't mean you made it happen. We don't even know if, is there no out to this? The autism thing, you don't get over autism. Okay, did you take them from really bad to medium? We have no expectations of anything getting done, so it's not stealing. I offered to help little Bobby. He said no, but I think you need to pay me for it. Okay, good God. And here's the problem. It's so much. I think Minnesotans don't even understand that's your and my money. Let's say it gets to $6 billion. Those are only $5 million of us in the state. Do the math. How much that is out of everybody's pocket. We got to stop. $76 million, $1 billion budget. This is almost $1 in $10 that you give into Minnesota. They're just handing to somebody else and getting nothing for it. $1 in $10.
Somebody's getting something for it. Somebody's getting something for it. That's why it has not been effectively combated. That's why it hasn't been stopped, because somebody is getting something for it. We're not getting services for the needy. That's not happening. We're not getting the declared legislative intended results. That's not happening. But somebody is getting something for it.
Does the legislature? Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, you don't set something like this up and then conscientiously refuse to hold people accountable and actually work within your administration to harass, harangue, and persecute, frankly, the few good people in your agencies who actually do want to do something about it, if you're not getting something as a result. If it's not benefiting you.
Because they all want votes, want to keep their job. He wants a third term as governor. Shouldn't every human being who has a person with disabilities in their home that thought that money might go to help them learn how to read street signs or whatever, every autism kid that has a parent in Minnesota should be mad as hell because that money didn't go to those autistic kids? If you were on the poor spectrum and you thought Feeding Our Future was going to feed your kid during the COVID, all of that went away. Why would you vote for these people? They, like you say, handed bags of money out to folks and said, don't worry about it. It didn't go to anything we said it would go for. The rest of us who, we're for smaller government, we're already mad. But even if you're on the other side of that fence, you should be madder than hell. None of that money went where we said it was going to go, and on purpose.
Right. Well, you're right. People should feel that way, because what is happening is this, and it doesn't get mentioned enough. What's so abhorrent about this entire operation is that it is all predicated upon your benevolence.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
It's all justified with, well, don't you want to feed hungry kids? Don't you want to help autistic students? Don't you want to give people a leg up? Don't you want to give people a hand up? But that benevolence is false. It's actually literally the opposite. It's I'm going to appeal to you. It's no different than somebody coming my door and saying, "Hey, I'm here to collect for, the alms for the poor," and you hand them money, and then they go tee hee hee as they walk away from the door and then go buy themselves dinner.
Whatever.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's that level of depravity. Only your government, only the entire administration under Tim Walz, right? That's engaged in that con operation.
And these are the same folks that I got to go. These are the same folks that, and don't you want better education for your kids? You just got to spend more money. When does that train hit the central station and say we spent everything we could and our education goes down, and yet he still thinks he's going to get votes? I got to fly. I do appreciate you more than probably ever, sir, and I appreciate that first segment we did. Representative Walter Hudson on the Al Travis Show. Thank you, my friend.
Take care.